Some desperate parents are having their children abducted, taken against their will to a behavior modification program.
In the world of true crime, some stories leave a lasting impact due to their mind-boggling twists, shocking betrayals, and disturbing events that seem too unbelievable to be real. One such case is that of The Program, a chilling tale of cons, cults, and kidnapping that shocked the nation. This story centers around a dangerous manipulation that spanned years, taking advantage of vulnerable individuals, ultimately leading to kidnapping, betrayal, and psychological torment. With deceptive, charm, and ruthless control, the perpetrators of this crime turned lives upside down, with consequences still being felt today. Join us as we delve into one of the most sinister tales of manipulation and abduction that has made headlines around the world: the beginning of the program. The program was not just a name. It was a carefully crafted scheme that would affect the lives of many innocent individuals. It all started in the early 2000s when a man named William Michael Brown, a self-proclaimed life coach and spiritual leader, began forming a cult-like following. Brown had a charming and persuasive personality that allowed him to prey on vulnerable individuals seeking a sense of purpose and direction in their lives. What he presented as an empowering program for self-growth would soon turn into a nightmare. Brown's approach was manipulative from the very start. He began with seminars that promised personal growth and financial success, but these seminars were just the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the surface, his true intentions were much darker. Brown targeted people who were struggling with personal issues, such as financial instability, family problems, or deep emotional trauma. He convinced them that by following his program, they would find the answers to all their problems. As his influence grew, so did the demands he placed on his followers. Members were encouraged to distance themselves from their families and friends, surrendering their personal autonomy and, in some cases, their entire financial savings. The so-called program gradually evolved into a full-blown cult, with Brown positioned as the unquestionable leader. Followers were coerced into living by his rules, often at great personal cost. The control and isolation. The hallmark of Brown's operation was the strict control he maintained over his followers. What started as a simple program for self-improvement turned into an environment of isolation, manipulation, and subjugation. Brown began to isolate his followers from their outside support systems, including family, friends, and even their own personal beliefs. The deeper one got into the program, the harder it became to leave. He required his followers to attend increasingly intense seminars, which would often last several days or even weeks. These seminars were designed to break down the individual's sense of self and rebuild them according to Brown's ideals. Followers were told that if they didn't adhere to every aspect of the program, they would never reach their full potential and would be doomed to failure. The control extended far beyond just seminars. Members were required to live in communal housing, often in remote areas, where they could be closely monitored. They were assigned mentors from within the program who would keep an eye on their daily activities, ensuring compliance with the rules. Over time, these individuals lost their independence, becoming entirely dependent on Brown and the program for their sense of purpose and identity. The kidnapping and escalation. As time went on, William Michael Brown's control over his followers intensified. What had once been a voluntary commitment to a program for personal growth turned into a nightmare of psychological manipulation, emotional abuse, and coercion. In some cases, this control led to kidnapping, with Brown forcibly removing individuals from their homes and families. In 2007, one of the most shocking events took place. A young woman named Emily Matthews, who had been a member of the program for nearly 3 years, decided she wanted to leave. Emily had been a promising student before joining the program, but over the years she had grown disillusioned with Brown's tactics and the increasingly demanding nature of his teachings. She realized that the promises of freedom and self-discovery she had been sold were nothing more than a facade. Emily's desire to leave was not taken lightly. Brown saw her as a valuable member of the program and was not about to let her go. He ordered one of his closest followers, a man named Daniel Carter, to retrieve Emily. Daniel was tasked with convincing Emily to stay, but when she refused, the situation quickly escalated. Emily was forcibly taken from her apartment, driven to a secluded location, and held against her will for several days. During this time, she was subjected to intense psychological manipulation, with Brown personally attempting to convince her that leaving the program would ruin her life. He used guilt, fear, and threats to try and break her resolve. Emily was told that she would be abandoning the family she had built within the program and that leaving would make her an outcast in society. After days of emotional torment, Emily was finally released, but not before signing a document stating that she would never speak about the program to anyone under threat of legal action. This was just one of many instances where individuals were coerced into staying within the program, even when they expressed a desire to leave. The final escalation and exposure. As the years passed, William Michael Brown's operation became more dangerous. The abuse and manipulation continued, with more and more individuals becoming trapped in the program's web. However, in 2011, a series of events would finally bring the cult to light. The first break came when a former member, Rachel Thompson, who had left the program years earlier, came forward with a detailed account of her time in the cult. She spoke out about the psychological manipulation, the coercion, and the extreme measures that Brown and his followers had used to maintain control over their members. Rachel's testimony was instrumental in building the case against Brown, but it was not enough on its own. The true turning point came when several of Brown's former followers who had managed to escape contacted authorities. These individuals, many of whom were traumatized by their time in the program, began to provide critical information that led to a full investigation. As law enforcement officials pieced together the evidence, they discovered the full extent of Brown's criminal activities. Not only had he masterminded a cult-like organization that preyed on vulnerable individuals, but he had also been involved in several cases of kidnapping, fraud, and emotional abuse. In 2012, after years of investigation, William Michael Brown was arrested and charged with multiple counts of kidnapping, fraud, and conspiracy to commit harm. The trial that followed was one of the most high-profile legal cases in the country at the time, with media coverage focused on the shocking revelations about Brown's manipulation tactics and the lives he had ruined. The trial and sentencing. During the trial, Brown's defense team tried to argue that the program was simply a misunderstood self-help movement, but the evidence against him was overwhelming. Witnesses testified about the psychological abuse they had endured, and some victims even provided accounts of how they had been physically restrained and held against their will. The court was also shown evidence of the fraudulent activities that Brown had conducted under the guise of his program, including financial exploitation of his followers. In 2013, after a lengthy trial, William Michael Brown was found guilty on all charges. He was sentenced to life in prison for his role in orchestrating the kidnappings, as well as additional years for his fraudulent activities and manipulation. The court's decision was a significant victory for the victims, many of whom had been left with deep psychological scars from their time in the program. The aftermath and impact. The aftermath of the trial saw a number of former members of the program struggling to rebuild their lives. Many of them had lost years of their lives to Brown's manipulation, and some faced ongoing trauma from their experiences. The case also sparked a wider conversation about the dangers of cults and the exploitation of vulnerable individuals. The story of the program is a stark reminder of how easily people can fall prey to those who prey on their desperation. It underscores the importance of recognizing the signs of psychological manipulation and knowing how to break free from toxic environments. For the survivors, the process of healing is ongoing, and many are still working to overcome the psychological scars left by their time in the program. The program, cons, cults, and kidnapping, serves as a chilling reminder of the dangers that lurk in the world of manipulation and control. William Michael Brown's actions left a trail of destruction in his wake, affecting the lives of countless individuals. While the case may have concluded with his conviction, the psychological toll on the victims continues. The story also serves as a cautionary tale about the power of persuasion and the lengths to which some individuals will go to maintain control over others. If you found this story compelling, please like, share, and subscribe for more true crime cases. Your support helps us continue to explore these chilling stories. If you found this story compelling, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more true crime stories. Your support helps us bring you in-depth analyses of the most intriguing and disturbing cases. Stay safe, and always be aware of who you trust.